Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, and I am being joined once again by the Just Us Marks Brethren, Easy.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever the hell you're watching this.
Exactly. And Nick is back, or Nick is with us, I guess I should say.
Welcome back. Hopefully you watched the first part.
Hopefully, you watched the first part.
Yes.
We are going through our project of all of us marks, going back and revisiting our first wrestling pay-per-view memories, and mine is WrestleMania 10. We last left WrestleMania 10 with a lot of ridiculous stuff, some bad finishes, but an all-time classic to start things off with Owen Hart and Bret Hart. And now we are
That
going...
honestly, so far, that's my match of the night, is Brett and
Oh
Owen.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It will be.
No,
Well, maybe not.
Well, there's one more.
Like I said,
but we're
so
not...
far.
So far. But we put a pin in this after a debacle of a tag title match where Men on a Mission won by disqualification or by countout, excuse me, and did not win the titles. So,
But held the titles.
So whatever. So we are on the timestamp of 1:24:33. We are seeing a woman in pink being escorted by somebody else, and
Pause this now to get there. If you need changing, pause the video, get to that time frame.
And we're seeing Pat Patterson looking at them, and shout to Pat Patterson. But get to that timestamp. We're getting ready to get to the second half of the card. If you'd like to follow along with us, again, it is 1 hour, 24 minutes, 33 seconds. Get there and press play now. So
there was a. Oh, so it's Rhonda Shear.
Rhonda Shear.
Who the hell is Rhonda Shear?
She hosted something on USA.
I do like her earrings. That looks pretty cool.
You know, in 20 years, people are going to be saying the same thing about, like, Bad Bunny and Snooki. So it's just the nature of the beast.
People are already saying it about Snooki.
The less said about her, the better. Oh, really? She's going to be...
Dude, that dude's jacket is so sick.
Which one?
The dude, there's like...
Rhonda Shear. Donald Wahlberg. Rhonda Shear. That's twice.
Graphic person, you're fired. Also, who's Donnie Wahlberg?
I guess that guy.
He's an actor.
He looks like American Bono.
Donnie, he's Mark Wahlberg's brother.
Oh my god! Oh shit! Oh, it's Donnie.
They apparently couldn't get Mark Wahlberg.
It's like not being able to get Sylvester Stallone, so you get Frank Stallone. So, all right.
Or no. Even worse, you couldn't get Alec Baldwin. We have Stephen Baldwin.
Yep.
This is the most ridiculous referee outfit I've ever seen in my life.
No. Wait. It's not ridiculous. It's the perfect outfit.
I definitely like. So Mr. Perfect is the guest referee, but some more context to this match. So Lex Luger was being built up as the new Hogan. He was All-American, and and nobody was buying into it, not even Americans, because they're like, we already had Hulk Hogan. Why do we have to have this Hulk Hogan that's at home? So the Lex Luger push kind of, not only did it fizzle out, but it was just poorly booked. Like, he won his big title match by DQ against Yokozuna, and then celebrated as if he won the title, making him look like a complete idiot. And so he co-wins the Royal Rumble with Bret. Yeah, poor Luger, but whatever. Co-wins the Royal Rumble with Bret, and we now go into the person that Yokozuna... The person that beat Bret for the belt the previous year at WrestleMania versus the guy that's been chasing him all summer. One of them is either Yoko's gonna prevail, or one of those two men will dethrone Yokozuna. And there is somebody who I used to have a lot of respect for in a ridiculous outfit.
So just, if you have time, Google Doppler effect costume Sheldon, because that's from The Big Bang Theory. That's literally what Mr. Perfect is wearing right now.
I know I'm just gonna let you guys
This is
know
seriously Yokozuna's theme. This is okay.
that's cool. I like Yoko's theme.
It's okay. It doesn't sound, I guess, threatening. It's like
It, it,
okay,
it it's the music they play in the sumo dojos.
okay, fair point then.
Yeah, it fits
Um,
his character.
yeah,
True. Did Yokozuna ever talk? Because I don't think I've ever heard him speak a
he
sentence.
turned babyface in '96 and began to talk.
Okay. Because it's
Um,
almost like, if you're
I,
looking
I
up
want
old promos, you hear Undertaker talk, but then when you're talking to him today, it just seems like, he doesn't speak at all.
I want to point out at the very end of this episode, um, or at the very end of this match, excuse me, um, there's a point I need to make about some of the people involved in this match. So I'm just letting you know, like, I gotta make time for that point because it's to me one of the most ridiculous things about the new generation era.
This is a cool. I like this camera shot they just did for Luger.
Ah,
Yeah,
that was a great shot. Lex
He looks
Luthor.
sad.
Okay, I'm confused. Was it
yeah, he
Luther
does
or
look kind of
Luger?
sad. Luger,
He looks like a beaten
Luger.
down
Okay.
man, which is what he is at this point.
yeah,
Sometimes,
his
like, I
push has
always keep
failed.
like mixing up by saying it's Lex Luthor. It's like, no,
I
Luger.
don't even think it's really his fault though. Like Luger, like at certain points in this, his build was over. I know he gets like clowned a lot for the Lex Express and all that stuff, but like you hear some of the reactions he gets, like he was over. They just really like
He was over, but
botched
it was
it.
just not. It wasn't drawing the money they wanted to draw, and they botched it.
Nobody did
Yeah,
though
Hey,
yeah.
in this
Pyro.
Well,
era.
let me put it to
Neither
you
did
this
Brett
way.
or Michaels.
I will say this, Brett. I will. It's going to be a cold day in hell. I'm going to put Brett over here. Brett at least had business internationally. Lex did not.
hmm
Yeah.
What happened? When did Vince decide to start like trusting the process of it, like he did with Cena and Roman, and just we're gonna push you no matter what?
Gosh.
I guess when it affects your money, I guess that's when he
Yeah.
started.
Yeah,
He when you
yeah.
start fucking with his
See,
money, then
at
he
this point in
doesn't.
time, all he has to do is just release a bunch of people, and then he can still turn a profit.
And again,
Which,
this is before WWE was going to be profitable no matter what they did too.
yeah,
This is pre it doesn't matter what we do, we're going to
was
be
not a
rich
publicly
era.
traded company at this point. For all intents and purposes, it was literally a mom and pop business that just happened to be national.
So who's the guy that's okay? So we got Fuji holding the Japanese flag. Who's the other guy that's got like the fan?
Jim, is that Cornette?
That
Is that
is
what you're
Jim
talking about?
Cornette.
That was freaking Jim Cornette,
That's
really.
Jim Cornette.
Oh my god. Alright.
Like I
Yokozuna
said,
obviously
he was
needs
a
two
man. He was a
managers.
man. I
So
used to. Well,
so
the
the
thing was,
guy
okay, okay. Well,
so the guy
I'll
wearing
give a
He
little.
looks like
the
a
black
Final
and gold jacket,
Fantasy
that's Jim
character in
I'm
this
going to
Cornette.
give some
match.
context on the. First of all, it's not fancy
Okay.
tennis racket. Second of all, I'll give some context on the two characters. Yokozuna was brought into the WWF by Mr. Fuji as his new monster, hell-bent on destroying America. Jim Cornette became his American liaison. Like, they needed somebody who could speak English to do promos for Yokozuna. And despite how I have like almost negative respect for Jim Cornette and what he has to say about wrestling these days, I will give him enough credit as a manager in this time period.
Oh, he's
Dude
one of
did,
the greatest managers of
yeah,
all
no
time, no matter what
question.
you think of him now.
Yeah, my personal feelings about how his blatant fucking idiocy as a booker and as a human being aside, his managerial prowess from the 80s to this time period, second to only Bobby Heenan. I will give him that much credit. It's just when
I
he opens
may
this.
even like him more than Heenan. Honestly, I think
I,
I
I,
love Cornette's managing.
I gotta.
There's a valid. I think there's validity to both, but I'm not dogging Heenan at all.
Right.
But
I do think, like, Lex. Lex is. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about Lex. And
I think he got a raw deal
he got a
personally.
raw
But
deal, but apparently, like, at this point in time in life, Lex was. Wow, was that a fucking crossbody from Lex
it
Luger?
was
Oh, that was a
wrestling
good cross
machine.
body. Wow.
Damn. I mean, he was apparently no saint,
What,
but, like, Lex was. Dude,
the
like, when you
cross
see.
body's not like a '90s thing yet, or
it's just I'm just shocked to see Lex Luger's known for like
Not being
being
a good
yeah
wrestler.
not being a good wrestler. So like I was shocked to see him pull a fucking crossbody out. Like that was cool. I don't think I've ever really sat down and watched this match in full. I've seen so much of this card, but not this match. I see the
Since
other
you were a
title match.
kid.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the other title match as a kid more than this one. Um,
Well, it's because it's better. But
I don't know that we'll be the judge on what's better by the end of this podcast.
but I don't know. Luger was before my time. I remember him in WCW when I started watching wrestling. Oh, can't slam him. Um, and I didn't love him. He was kind of just one of the guys there. Like I think the problem was they wanted him to be Hogan 2.0 or 3.0 if
Yep.
Warrior was 2.0, and he just wasn't going to be that. It doesn't mean he couldn't have been a champion. Like he could very easily could have held the world title, but not everyone that
Or
holds
was
the world
Warrior
title is
still with the
Hogan.
company at this point?
Warrior, no. Hogan, Warrior were out. Savage was considered
Okay.
quote unquote too old,
He's on his way out.
or at
Okay.
least on his way to where.
This is really doesn't have too many of the Hulkamania era guys on here. Is Jake the Snake on this card?
No.
DiBiase you said's on it, but he's not wrestling.
Yeah, he's a manager at this point. Mr. Perfect's a referee.
Andre's passed away by this point, right?
Yeah. Um, I mean, there was a lot.
Boss
There's
Man, is he on
yeah,
here?
he's not. There's some Hulkamania guys still with the company, but like in smaller roles. Like Rick the Model Martel's still in the company. Virgil's still in the
Mm-hmm.
company. Roddy Piper's on the card a little later, but not in a wrestling role.
What about Sergeant
Mm-hmm.
Slaughter?
Sergeant Slaughter's not in the company at this point.
Yeah, this is
Um,
really, they did do, for all there is to say
Wait,
about
what
the
about
new generation
Andre
era,
though?
they
Is
did do a
he?
good job of at least replacing. Not, you could say they didn't do
Oh
a
wait,
good
no.
job, but they're not clinging to stars like they do now.
right.
I was almost going to ask about Andre, but it's like, oh wait, actually he passed away at that point.
Yeah. Um, the new generation is kind of. This is kind of a weird period for the new generation because 93, 94 to me, it's kind of. I'm going to go off on this tangent here that only Nick's going to get on the call. Then there might. Lex Luger sign in the crowd. So that should tell you, like, kind of some justification to the push failing. Right there in the front row,
Yeah.
there's a Lex Luger sign. But at this point in time in the, like, in the new generations, it's kind of that weird like transition period where it's not the all commanding era, but there's still some remnants lying around before it's
hmm
fully invested. Kind of like how in '97 and '98 there was still some remnants of the new generation around, but you knew the
Yeah.
Attitude Era was coming. It's very similar, and Nick will get this reference, and the comic book people listening to this will get this reference. Kind of very similar to like the 70s in Batman, where it's no longer the Adam West era, but it's definitely the era where you're not going to get away with that in the post Frank Miller era.
Yeah, it's but before the Dark Knight, but after Adam West.
Yeah, like so, like this is kind of what we're getting into. It's like, it's kind of it's the new generation, but it's not like where they're full steam ahead and fuck all the old people like they were in '96.
What would you say? 11 and 12 are and 13 are the three like real true new generation WrestleManias. Then
I'd agree with
13's
that.
kind of
I gave
transition
up
one
with the
actually.
WWE the
13 was
second
like,
time around like 2012-ish.
oh, we're
I
talking about
got bored of
WrestleManias,
it.
but
Oh, WrestleMania. Okay, sorry.
I'd say 13 is kind of like 13 is without a doubt a new generation pay per view, but you're
But yeah,
start
you still have Austin on there, the double turn
yeah. Also, in the double turn with that one is what definitely like
sets the
it
seeds for the Attitude
it
Era.
again, kind of going back to the Batman. That is the five-way revenge of the fucking WWF. It's something
hmm
that it's the type of WrestleMania that you wouldn't get away with in the Hulkamania era, but it's also there's still enough on there that's like an Attitude Era fan would puke on it. The five-way revenge Joker story for the comic. People that don't know is like it's a more violent Batman story than what Batman was coming out of with the Adam West and Burt Ward era. And it is a dark story, but it's definitely something that after you've read Dark Knight Returns, you're like, this is dark? Fuck you, you're dumb. There's still enough of like the old Batman in there that you're not uh, a Dark Knight fan would puke on it. You know,
Hmm.
Now
there's
back to
my.
the reality here. Am I the only one that's actually kind of bored with this match?
I mean,
Um,
It's
I mean, yeah, it's Yokozuna Lex Luger.
I don't know. It's like
There's a
there could
ceiling
still
for
be
sure.
great Yokozuna matches, but it's like this one is just him trying to like do like
Is there a lot? There's not a
wrestle.
lot of great Yokozuna matches.
Yeah, but Yoko had like good timing down, but like the man was never like an exciting wrestler, and
He was
that
good at his role.
See,
good.
this has been going on for like the last 5 minutes now. It's like somebody do something.
Well, I mean, like some things. Yoko was good as role. Lex, other than busting out some high paced offense earlier, it definitely was. He definitely was not a workhorse. Like we say, Lex got a
No,
raw deal, but like gonna call a spade here. Lex was definitely not Steamboat or Hart or Sean or Daniel Bryan or any of that in the
no,
wrestling
that's true.
department.
But he's
And,
trying to fill a role that none of those people were either. Like Hogan and especially Warrior is far from a workhorse too. Like the
But
role they wanted, he's wrestling the style he's supposed to be wrestling to
on the
fit this
flip
role that
on the
they
flip
wanted
side
to
for
fit.
Steamboat, was he in
Luger is
WCW at
kind
this
of
point?
like he has great matches with great people. Like Luger and
Yeah,
Flair was great,
like
but
Warrior. Warrior had great matches with great people too. But
And like I said, was Steamboat in WCW at this point?
Steamboat, yes,
Okay. No.
but
Please be quiet, King. I feel like when he's a heel commentator, it's like it's been funny for a while and then it just gets annoying.
you could argue he's filling his role then.
True.
King really like after like I said, when I got the WrestleMania era, like when I got back into wrestling in middle school, I went back to watch a lot of old wrestling, and then recently for whatever reason, I guess over the pandemic and then coming out of it, I've watched a lot of older wrestling, and
Mhm.
King's commentary I only really like a lot when he's with JR. Any
Yeah.
other like comment combo with the King, he's not, I don't think he's great.
No.
He's
Could
never,
you
well,
imagine?
he's terrible
Could you?
later, like when
Could
post
you?
JR Raws
Could
and
you honestly
SmackDowns,
imagine
but
just as a special guest if Jerry came to AEW as a guest commentator?
I would not want that.
I
No.
wouldn't either.
And I'm
Why the matches for
and I have
Garden?
a lot of respect for
No,
Jerry
I thought
Lawler.
we were in.
I have tons of
I
respect for,
thought we were
yeah,
in
Lawler.
Boston.
For what he's done in Memphis. Like,
Hmm.
you can't not.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like Jerry, because of his commentary role, like, and because he wrestles such an old school style, you want to talk about somebody that gets a raw deal with wrestling? Jerry Lawler. Because so many new fans can't put themselves in what his era was. They can't understand how great Jerry was. So
Hmm.
they just see him and they're like, okay, he sucks. He's the guy that says puppies and he does a pile driver and punches. It's like, no, he punched at the right times. Like he knew how to sell. He knew how to like get the crowd to come alive for his punch.
Are they
Yeah.
chanting USA right now? Can't tell.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I mean, it's all American Lex Luger versus quote unquote
And
Japanese.
like, it's
I
is
love that
Yokozuna
spot.
like trying to give
They
him
don't
like a
do it so
nerve
much
pick or
anymore. I've
something?
always loved that. The hand raising on the
Oh my god!
three.
What the hell?
I
Oh
would like it more if more people passed out on the third one.
I agree with you, but they don't even use it very much at all anymore.
Now they just kind of call
Even
the
as like,
match.
you what?
Now they just like sort of like, oh, he's out. He or she is out. Call the match.
Yeah, you're right. I know, and that's more like what they do in a fight, like a UFC. But I still love
That
that
was a cool
the
move from
hand drop at
Yoko,
three.
though.
that's a great
Mm-hmm.
body slam.
See, Yoko had cool moves. He just Yoko got too
He
big for
Yeah,
couldn't
his own
do
see,
good.
them.
I haven't
It just
seen
took him a
him like
while to get him off.
move.
He could do a
Like
move and he's gassed.
I've
I
only
know,
seen
like
him like
apparently,
move
like
like a couple of feet in the middle of the ring. Everywhere else, he's just walking around just so he could pick up Lex.
Well,
Yoko.
he's not in good shape
Oh,
at this
he's
point.
gone
Like,
down. We'll pin him. What? Oh my god.
that's
Why
why
there's just
Yoko died ultimately, right?
Yeah.
It was his weight, and I'm not fat shaming at all. I'm a big guy, I've struggled with it my whole life,
Mm.
but like, if we're just being honest, like that's why he's not a good wrestler or a great wrestler. He
I mean,
just
Yeah.
wasn't. He couldn't keep up.
and they sent apparently they sent like Yoko to weight loss clinics a lot. Yoko
Yeah.
was under contract with WWF until I want to say like 97, 98, and then they're like, you
Mm.
can't get your weight under control. We can't use you. I
Well,
always,
it was a danger to
Didn't he?
himself to
Didn't he
yeah,
wrestle.
pass away
Like
I
from
if
a
you're
always
that
tell
problem?
big,
Peps about Yoko. There's the slam. I
kind
was
of.
kind of. I always wonder.
Kinda.
Real talk though, like I always wonder about Yoko because he was kind of out of the company before the Attitude Era started, and I always kind of wonder like, so 97 was like what we were talking about earlier with that like transition, where it's still the new generation, but you're seeing the Attitude Era form.
So he was
Could
he
What
was
would
could
with
Yoko have
Yoko?
made
WWE.
that
He was
transition?
What
with
would
the
Yoko
WWF
have been
until
like
'98.
I
in
don't know.
the Attitude Era?
It would have been like Los
Right?
Boricos or something,
What
something
is he?
silly.
Would he? I don't know, but like, how would what would Yoko?
What
But
is happening with Mr. Perfect here?
he's being a heel.
Mm. Is there a feud leading up to this, or he's just a general heel?
He's turning on Lex. He's turning a heel. He's turning heel now.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't. He's not.
Okay, so here's what Wikipedia said. Yokozuna was officially released from the WWF in May of '98, and they call the match because why?
Mr. Perfect called the match because Lex put his hands on him. So here's what happened.
Okay.
So
Second bullshit finish in a row.
second bullshit finish. But so here's the idea. Here was what I will give them the benefit of the doubt here. Hear me out. So they were having supposedly going to have Mr. Perfect turn heel on Yokozuna because the year before Mr. Perfect turn heel on Lex. I'm sorry. The year before Lex was not All American. He was the narcissist and was feuding with Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania. They're trying to build up to a rematch, but Mr. Perfect had a Lloyd's of London insurance policy for a bad back and never wrestled again until he went to WCW. So they never had a chance to really get this feud off the ground. The plan was for Lex and Perfect to start feuding. They didn't want to have they didn't want Lex to be the champion, so that was the thing.
At least he's explaining
What are
himself
they
here.
Yeah.
chanting now at the Garden? Is it? Uh-oh. So, so as I was saying before, that ended abruptly. Yokozuna was officially released from the WWF in May '98, a decision that directly came from Vince McMahon due to his weight issues. Later, going on saying due to potential heart issues relating with his weight and following the unexpected death of Brian Pillman 7 months previously due to an undiagnosed heart issue, the WWF didn't want to take the liability of letting Yokozuna perform with heart issues.
So there you
Okay, and
go.
here's an
Yeah.
idea. There's a thing
Yeah,
called
it's
aging in
not a weight
healthcare.
issue, like an appearance issue for him, because he's supposed to be like a big, like a
And
fat guy.
I want to say
It's
right
when
just
he
now, but
went
literally like he was
when he
dying.
went
we'll get right back to
independent,
Yokozuna. But like,
his
this is like a good setup for a feud. It's just it didn't go anywhere because Mr. Perfect was getting paid to not wrestle by his insurance company, and then take
Yeah.
it, and then eventually
yeah.
like would make public appearances and commentary roles for the WWF. So he was double dipping. So there you go.
So,
But anyway,
and
back to
this is
Yoko.
also
Go
sad
ahead.
to say, but Yokozuna's last major appearance was the disaster show known as Heroes of
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling, where
Mm.
apparently he got bigger between 850 and 900 pounds,
Yep.
which that's terrifying.
Yeah, you
But
can't let someone like that wrestle.
No.
uh, But just
Yeah.
it's something I was wondering because like I grew up with Yokozuna through like liking wrestling. Yoko was the heel. You know what I mean? But I always wondered, how would his character have changed had he been part of that '97 transition and then eventually the Attitude Era? Um,
I didn't know. I didn't know
Yoko was
Yokozuna
his
was the
older
first person
matches
to take
too. He was
the.
he was better when he was in better shape.
yeah,
Like
1991 WrestleMania. Don't talk about Hogan. Don't talk about Warrior. Talk about that stupid fucking blindfold match.
I think that if Yoko
Who
could
the
have got
hell
his
is
liver
this
control, he
guy?
could
Harley
have,
Whippleman.
he
Oh
could have
yeah.
been something because he's a wrestler under like he didn't have all those physical problems, you know.
Wait, so what did WrestleMania 7 have other than let's not talk about Hogan?
Um, it had Hogan versus Slaughter when Slaughter became an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah.
It also
Oh, and
had
also
it
fun
also had
fact that
timeout. It also had
Mhm.
Warrior versus Savage, right?
Ultimate Warrior's greatest match ever with Randy Savage.
Absolutely, yeah.
also fun fact that was actually supposed to take place at the Coliseum, but apparently it depending on who you want to look at, it was either due to poor ticket sales, they moved it to the sports arena, or because of actual death threats that Sergeant Slaughter was getting.
There's two different stories, and I'll leave it up to the viewers to go
Yep.
with what they want to
Yeah.
believe.
We got Adam Bomb coming in.
Uh-uh.
Adam
Yeah.
Bomb was managed by Harvey
Oh, and
Whippleman.
yet, despite the fact that for
I like
WrestleMania
Adam
6, they
Bomb.
did show,
I like
hey, Earthquake!
See,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
one
and
of those.
also
See,
for,
Earthquake. There's another one of those like that's a Hulkamania era guy. It's like he's still
Mm-hmm.
around, but it's like,
Hulkamania guy who should have been
oh
by the
yeah,
bigger
way,
than he was.
Quake was great.
if they
Yeah.
were going to avoid the subjects about Hogan and Warrior, then, they just showed him for a WrestleMania 6 highlights. Like, I don't know.
So this is an impromptu match apparently,
Hmm. Ew!
and it's over.
Imagine if he had farted.
I was looking at something even worse, like his nuts.
Isn't Earthquake like in his 20s at this point still?
Yeah,
Or his early 30s at the late?
I
Like
was gonna
yeah.
say,
he's
like,
such
wait,
an
even
old
a
looking
fat
guy.
guy looks like he's
I
in his
will
twenties
look
and
that up right
balding.
now. Uh,
Okay, so the guy that was trying to start an argument with the Fink, who was he again?
Harvey
Harvey
Whippleman.
Whippleman. He's a manager
Okay.
Earthquake is my age, 31 years old at that point.
at
Well,
this match.
at
Yeah.
this match, or at least my age for at the time of this
You-
recording. The next couple of days.
And
Okay,
he looked that same way when he was like in his
an
20s wrestling
Yeah,
Hogan
audience
too.
shot
He was
because
like 28
yeah.
and
He's
he
like
looked like
20.
he was in his
He looked
mid
exactly.
40s.
Yeah, he looked exactly like that when he wrestled Hogan.
hey
And
guys, we're going back to the presidential box, but someone forgot to turn the lights on.
a lot of people
Earth
hate on
What a
Todd Pettengill.
match!
I like Todd
What match?
Pettengill as a interviewer and like a hype man. Like he's kind of like Don West, where like I think Raw deals. Don West gets a raw deal.
Oh, so
Dude,
that's
Jim
some.
Cornette just straight up looks like an anime villain in this outfit. I don't understand what's going on here.
He looks like he's trying to audition to be a member of the Hart family. He just has the wrong colors on.
This
You
beautiful
thought you had
promo
everything in
from
your
Jim
hand like a
Cornette.
purring kitten.
See, here's Jim Cornette make me go, oh, I remember why I used to like this guy. And then, like, you'll hear him go, Kenny Omega's the worst wrestler ever! And then you'll be like, Jim, like, if you disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't be sad.
Yeah, I mean, we have differing opinions. I don't like a lot of what Cornette has to say. I think he makes some good points.
I'm
Quite
gonna
a
say
few
this.
good points.
Here's my and then again, like, here's what I'm gonna say about Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is what he hates. Jim Cornette is Vince Russo. Jim Cornette is Vince Russo, at least when it comes to
Hmm.
booking. And what I mean by that is, like, yeah, he doesn't want to, like, fucking make everything so. They have different opinions on what wrestling should be but they're both so warped up in their opinion of
Excuse me.
what wrestling should be that they don't understand that that's not what wrestling is in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Vince Russo's are like, bro, we gotta fucking change everything. It's gotta be like wrestling itself means nothing. We not got to some sketches and gotta be the entertainment is. And that's like, cause when I was booking the Attitude Era, bro, it was on fire, and I had none of the wrestling zizzes. That's why AEW is shit, bro, because they want to put people who are not put wrestling ziz on the TV ziz, and it's actually bad ziz. Where if they put the sketches like, you know, what I did on sketches is would make everything better, bro. That's Vince Russo's opinion. AEW sucks because it's not a bunch of sketches, and it's not what I did in this Crash TV.
All right, Coliseum video
Yeah,
moment.
Yeah.
Let's see what
it's
they
not
pick.
what I did in this fucking crazy time that was the late 90s. Jim Cornette is, you know, AEW sucks because they're doing some stuff that's coming over in 2021.
Really? Like that's
Just
all they're
oh,
Oh,
gonna
here
you
we
show right
better
go.
there.
stop the Cornet hate. You got a good match to Faith
Yeah.
Institute coming up.
Well, okay, I'll do the
Like,
last part of the
hold
Cornette
up,
hate.
stop.
Yo, hey, you know, I'm not gonna book like 2021. You know, back in 1982, we did things this way, and even though that can't get over because it's not 1982, we should still do it that way.
All
But
right,
here we go.
Geek, set up some context for these two title
All
belts
right.
hanging up there.
What
So,
the hell is
so
with
here we
the
go.
two title
Two
belts?
title belts. Well, you're gonna learn right now. So, Shawn Michaels was the Intercontinental Champion. He tested positive for drugs and was
Thanks,
suspended.
Vince.
And Shawn Michaels, being pre finding God and Jesus and all that good stuff at the time, um, they said, okay, well, you're suspended for 30 days. He's like, all right, well, send us the belt back. No. And they're like,
So they basically there was an interim
there wasn't an
champion.
interim. He just like, he said, like, I'm keeping the belt. So
The physical belt,
the
not like
physical
the
belt.
lineage.
Who's he being accompanied by?
That is Diesel, a.k.a. Kevin Nash.
Oh shit.
So Shawn Michaels would, you know, basically said, I'm keeping the physical belt. So they made a new belt and they had a battle royal, and Razor Ramon won the
Now we
Intercontinental
sure
title.
that's Diesel, that's not fake Diesel.
Yes, that's Diesel.
Okay.
That's
Just
not
making
Kane.
sure.
That's Kevin Nash. That's not Kane. So Shawn Michaels comes back with his belt. Razor Ramon has his belt, and you know they do. I'm the real champion. No, I'm the real champion. All that stuff. Gonna settle it.
Okay, so this is basically like CM Punk leaves the company with the belt. John Cena's the new champion, but then Punk comes back with still his belt.
That's like this.
That's like
Okay.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, this came first. So and
And was
this
done better.
yes, this was done significantly better. So yeah, this was what we got going on here. So there's the two Intercontinental Champions. There is the Razor Ramon and the Shawn Michaels, and it's
Ayo.
this
Did
before I
Razor ever win the world title in
never.
WCW?
He's never,
Not even in WCW?
not even WCW.
So
Oh,
for
he goes under
someone
the
who
ladder.
founded the NWO, he was never a world champion.
Nope.
I didn't think he
Are you
was.
freaking kidding me?
Nope. He was
All
just
right. Taking aside comments and personalities outside the ring, just as in-ring wrestlers and characters and careers, Kevin Nash or Scott Hall.
Scott. I like Scott Hall as a
I would say
wrestler
Scott
more. I
Hall.
like Scott Hall as a wrestler more, but like Nash just has that longevity. Nash was a world champion in two different companies. Nash was I mean, again, I'm not like I don't follow the NFL much anymore, but it's kind of like comparing Fran Tarkenton and Eli Manning.
Mm.
One guy like innovated a position, but one guy's like, I'm the only guy in the new millennium to go to multiple Super Bowls and not lose. You know, and how
So
many
was
Super Bowls do you?
Diesel? So sorry to interrupt, but so is Diesel like basically Sean's bodyguard? That's what I'm
Yes.
trying to think.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
exactly what he is.
Yeah, and I'm the only one here that wasn't born at this point.
Well, that's why it's cool for you to watch this.
I know.
This
So
click match here.
But at least I can now identify what disappointment felt like during that last match.
that's true. So
Alright.
yeah.
Okay, so the bell rang. So what are we waiting for? Wait, do they literally only have one ladder?
It's the first one.
Well, it's not. Well, actually, fun fact: it was not the first one. It was the first one to be done on a live pay-per-view.
Well,
Sean,
yeah, but you know what I mean. To most people,
yeah,
to 99% of the people watch wrestling, it's the first one,
Sean and Brett had a ladder match in '92 at a house
and they
show.
did this match on the house show circuit a bunch, didn't they?
Yeah,
Razor and Michaels.
Sean and
Yeah.
Brett did this match on the house show loop a bunch. And actually, you want to talk about better Sean and Brett matches? We kind of talked about earlier about the Iron Man match on the last episode, rather. Um, the Sean and Brett ladder matches are better than the Iron Man match. Choke slam from Scott Hall. You don't see that very
Mm-hmm.
often.
Ooh.
Well, finally, we got some excitement here.
Oh yeah, these are two very different competitors than Lex Luger and Yokozuna.
Oh, definitely. And this is
So easy, you do have to. And I wasn't watching this live at the time, but I did watch wrestling before the TLC matches existed. I was
Mhm.
watching during it, but you have to put yourself in the mindset of like you've literally never seen a ladder match before. You have no idea what to expect. So yes, this is. Are one of these people going to do a swanton bomb off of a 30-foot ladder? No, but you have to just think about
Mm.
like what
I
this
mean,
is in historical context.
mm.
yeah. I think you you got to think jumping off the
Like I
high,
said, I've seen the highlights of
jumping off the
every
top
time.
rope was still a high spot at the time.
Hey,
Hmm.
Diesel, be careful. You're actually gonna team up with that guy one day.
I think to answer the question I asked you, I would go with Razor. Um, just as
Razor's
as far as
as
in ring wise, his in ring overshadows Kevin Nash's accomplishments, in my personal opinion.
right.
As far as making him the better wrestler, Kevin Nash was never great, but he was never really terrible either. How
Okay,
can you
for a match
throw
that's
somebody
not as
out of
well
a no DQ
stipulated, you just
match?
threw a guy
Yeah,
out. Okay.
can't you just say
Oh,
no?
hey! He did the side. He's gonna fine him if he doesn't go out.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yep,
Okay,
Mm.
you'll be fine.
there you go. There you go.
So good. You
Alright.
know what? Good job of the WWE for explaining
They
why
used
this
to do
is.
that. If you were, if you know,
If
things
you
used to
pay,
make sense in
if you
WWE.
paid attention, you would get it. But yeah, that's why there's two belts, and this is the ladder match to determine the undisputed Intercontinental Champion. See what I mean about the sternum first spot? Like Owen just
Ooh.
went into it. Sean did like a fucking made a bump out of it.
Oh, jeez. And Razor Ramon
Sean
wins the
made a
Royal
bump out of
Rumble.
everything.
Yeah. Which
Now, did they actually fully explain why there's actually two belts, or we shouldn't mention drug use in wrestling?
they okay. They said that Shawn Michaels was suspended for failing to appear
For
at
to defend it,
to
right?
defend the title.
'Cause he
Yeah.
didn't defend. Yeah,
Okay.
because every 30 days you have to defend.
So they said he was failing to meet contractual title defenses. So
There's an
therefore,
interesting sell on that clothesline.
yeah. So that was the kayfabe reason Sean went away was
Okay.
failure to defend the title. In real life, it was,
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
hell of a sell on. You don't really need to sell that.
And remember, that wasn't something done all the time back then.
Was Sean part of that steroid scandal that the WWF was under, or
He tested
no?
positive for steroids, but Shawn, you can call me a mark for Shawn Michaels at this time, but like Shawn has been like pretty open about all the drugs he did, and he said, I tested positive for steroids. I was probably slipped something that point. He said, I'm taking prescription. He said, I've taken prescription pills. There's a chance, who's got pills? Someone gave him something with steroids in it.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
Shawn Michaels, even he's not, he's muscular, like he's bigger biceps than I probably do as a big guy, but he's
doesn't look
doesn't
like a
look like a
steroid
weight
guy.
guy.
Yeah, he doesn't look like
No,
a
and he
steroid
never
guy.
has.
But that was what he tested positive for. But, Sean,
Oh,
damn. Sean is pretty open about all of his drug use. If Sean was on steroids, the first person who would tell you would be Shawn Michaels at this point.
I agree with you, and I don't think that makes you a Michaels work. It just makes sense. Like, why? What does he have to like gain? Everyone else has come clean about it from that era.
Yeah. And he's also still
Like,
what's the point of him going, I didn't do steroids. I did a shit ton of pills, coke, and weed,
and
but
was like a bad person, like a jerk to people, and like
and I
he
was,
puts everything out there.
yeah,
and
I
I
was
want to.
like the
And when I
worst
was
person
watching
in the
the Nature
world, but
Boy 30 for 30, he just did a lot of drinking and still looked like he could have fought in a match while having God knows how many kamikazes.
there was, I mean, I'm not gonna throw anything out there, but like, here we go. Oh,
Oof.
and again, remember, 1994, a chair shot was still like a holy shit moment. Now somebody's hitting somebody with a ladder. I'm gonna apologize to the fans right now. Like, we might be a little enamored with this match and take some quiet breaks. So if it gets, I'm gonna
Mm,
try and not let it just be a bunch of silence and try and add something. But
yeah.
if we get lost in the match, we apologize.
Yeah. No, I am amazed that like at the time, like this is like pretty innovative. And then some guy thought, hey, how about let's do this weekly and call it ECW?
Oh, ECW was happening at this time though.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, what the audience didn't stand up thinking, oh my god, he's gonna climb the ladder.
I mean, they.
No, it just
Well, I mean, you look. Again, not trying to be the person that I was just ranting on, but like, you see a TLC match now, and they're immediately going after the ladder. You see this match, like it was. I'm not gonna say they waited till halfway through the
well, hey,
match.
no, oh please no, please no, I don't want to see his ass.
Yep, there we
No,
go.
I didn't need to see his ass. What the hell?
I remember
Actually, you know what?
on
Wait a
the
minute. What
original
the hell?
broadcast, you see like a
These
complete.
days,
You
hang
see a
on. These
complete.
days, you
That
would.
was censor on the tape that I saw. You saw his ass, like point
Yeah,
blank,
we just saw his bare ass on Peacock here, but
like it was a
hang
little
on.
bit. No,
So
there was like a fucking zoom of
I was
his
gonna
butt.
say,
Sorry,
so
guys,
hang
I had
on.
to step away
So
for a second.
these
I'm
days,
back.
WWE is going to blur an ass shot on Raw and SmackDown, but since we have this place on Peacock and a lot of the stuff is going missing, you're still gonna keep his ass on a streaming service. I don't need to know what Sean's
Well,
ass looks
but
like.
he transitioned that into a flying elbow drop off the ladder, though.
It's just
Anyways,
an
here it is,
ass.
And
the
here
infamous
is what
moment
I
we
remember
always
the most:
see.
is that part right there.
hmm
That is my first memory of Shawn Michaels. Right there. My first
One
memory
of your
of
very first wrestling
no,
memories.
not even Shawn Michaels. My first wrestling memory was what
Holy
we just
shit!
witnessed right there.
Holy shit!
Was that splash?
And
Like,
no, we're not gonna have holy shit, holy shit, holy shit.
because we don't know what to think of
I
that
guess
yet.
not.
Like that is
Damn
just
it!
like that's just something that's like,
It just seems
oh,
like the audience seems like, yeah, you know, I've seen so many people jump off their ladders before, no big deal.
but like now it's just kind of like now the crowd just like doesn't know what to think.
Yeah, they're like stunned by this.
Like they're
They're
cheering, but
just
they're like,
that's why they're just
Do they
screaming. Like you
not?
just
Do
hear
they
a lot of
really
like
not have the
ah.
person holding the
oh,
ladder so it doesn't fall?
What
Oh,
a sell!
jeez.
He's bumping for that rope like it's Hogan.
I almost choked on my Coke for a moment.
jeez, just
No, I thought this was the World Wildlife Fund.
Speaking of that, I love that we no longer have to blur out the WWF logos. You
I
remember
get
that time
so
oh
period?
yeah, I
annoyed
remember.
when they
And it was
blur it.
just
It's like,
the like the Attitude Era logo. Like the other ones were like okay.
why?
So do they still blur out the Attitude Era logo then? The scratch
Uh,
logo?
It was blurred
I
we'll
don't
when
we'll
I
think
was
they
watching
do.
Nature
we'll
Boy.
find out. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find
So
out
it's
when
like,
we do my episode.
I don't really get it. It's like, okay, we get it. You don't use the WWF anymore, but it's like, why do you need to blur it?
There was something in the lawsuit, I think, like it was so many years to like erase it from at this point now WWF is like an antique basically. Like
Yeah.
no one confuses it really except for like really old men at like mechanic shops. They're like, "You watch that WWF pay-per-view?" Like,
Right.
"You still watch that you watch that WWF?" Like that's the only people you ever hear say call it that anymore. Like
Like,
everyone knows it's WWE. So I get like why like you really need to eliminate all references to this until we
Yeah.
can
For
reestablish ourselves as
it,
the only WWF brand.
it's been WWE for more than half my life at this point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like for a while it was like WWF, and then it was WWE. But I still remember like their first WWE logo was just
Oh,
the W.
oh,
Whoa, mama!
Hmm. I remember the "Get the F Out" shirts too.
Oh,
right.
Jesus Christ!
I mean,
What was that? By the
but
way, what was that
when it
supposed
comes
to prove?
good, better, and different, it's like, hey, if Vince McMahon's being told to do something by a court that he doesn't want to do, he's gonna make a campaign out of it and try and make some money off
Oh,
of it. Oh, damn.
I've actually never seen these days. I see like wrestlers squishing their opponents with the wrestling pole and the ladder. I've never seen that yet or before.
So that,
There's some stuff in
like,
this that doesn't really get done anymore.
yeah, I'm about to say,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from any of that, but like, so Easy, who's a modern wrestling fan, is saying that. Imagine what the crowd watching this in 1994 was thinking. Oh,
Oh,
Oh.
that's another iconic
Oh
shot.
oh,
Oh,
hell! Aw. If he landed on Razor, that actually would have been epic. Apparently, neither can the crowd.
so as far as test gimmick matches for Shawn Michaels, because he's got 3 under his belt that I know of. Do you prefer this, the first Hell in the Cell, or the first Elimination Chamber?
I'm gonna go Hell in a Cell by a nose.
I'm actually gonna say Elimination Chamber. I've seen highlights of it on SummerSlam, and honestly, that could have been SummerSlam's
Well, we're talking about
marquee.
Sean's performance in the first
Oh,
one.
Well, I just
performance.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, well, like just that the
Uh,
match itself is the first, like, he was not necessarily just Sean's
I say the
performance.
Elimination Chamber because that
I think
had
I'd say this
so much
honestly.
drama.
Well, I was gonna say Hell in a
Be-
Cell because the whole point of Hell in a Cell was like the way he played his like, oh shit, I'm stuck. Oh shit, that's the
Hmm.
Undertaker. Like, I like that so much.
Yeah, his performance in that for sure, and not taking anything with Taker, and you had the Kane debut, and it was in St. Louis, so it's got a lot going for it. But I think, I think this match is better. I think this holds up. I know it's not as crazy as modern day ladder matches, but I honestly think that um, I don't know though. Now that I'm saying that, there's been some really good Hell in a Cell matches, but there's been a lot of not great ones too.
Right. Like, I mean, it's kind of, and I'm not. I like Dave Meltzer and all, and I like hearing what he has to say, and I like reading his ratings. But I feel like anybody that uses them as gospel, this is a great shot, even for this era. Like
Oh
how they
yeah,
they used the both climbing and they used that sky cam. That was awesome.
Was this
Hmm.
the first time they used a sky cam?
Yeah, they never used it before. They only had it for the ladder match, and then
Hmm.
they shot a few shots of the other matches, and then just
Oh
recently,
boy!
Oh,
Oh no!
ooh,
oh
oh,
Oh
ooh. Now, was that supposed to happen?
no, the ladder was just breaking, and this is before they had like
Okay,
and this is when they had one
a
ladder,
got
a ladder. You
That's
have
what I was gonna
one.
say. It's like
You
you
don't
really
have
only have
12
one
ladders. You got
ladder,
one.
and how come they don't have like somebody like they don't have the referee like at least holding it for safety?
Because at the time, if the referee held it,
kayfabe.
yeah, kayfabe. At this time, if the referee
Okay.
held it for safety, then he's being biased for Razor Ramon or being biased for Shawn Michaels. I mean, kayfabe was on its way out, but
'Cause-
kayfabe was still a thing at that time.
You know, I kind of like the idea of. Don't get me wrong. I love Money in the Bank matches, pretty much almost all of them. Crazy ladder matches with a million spots and craziness. But there's something to be said about like the drama of having one ladder. Like if you break that ladder, like you're gonna have to
Oh.
climb on a broken ladder. Like you know what I mean? It kind of adds
Right.
another element to the story.
That's something that could honestly, you mentioned that could be utilized. There's one ladder and a 60-minute time limit.
Oh, sweet chin music.
Yeah, if you guys, if you set someone up on a ladder bridge and you do a 450 through and it breaks, then you're fucked.
Yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, I do think this is probably the best of his test matches. I think that, and I also think that the ladder match stipulation is probably my favorite gimmick match ever. I used to would have said Hell in a Cell, but they've really just like soured me
Bastardized
on
the
Hell in a
fuck out of
Cell.
it.
Yeah. Um, even before the
Oh.
two back-to-back shitty Hell in a
Power
Cells
driver.
with Strowman and with the Fiend and
Right.
Rollins, before they really killed it, it still didn't have the same air.
Again,
And ladder matches don't feel special, but they're almost always pretty good. Like
right.
I've seen very few like bad ladder matches, even at
Uh,
like indie shows when it's like two like people who aren't that great. Like there's just something about a ladder match that's it's got in
Real
built-in
talk,
drama.
Sean drops a beautiful pile driver. You know, that he dropped that pile driver earlier. Got me mention of that. Here's
Mm-hmm.
something. I remember
What
this
is
spot.
he doing? What the hell? Oh boy.
This is a pretty iconic shot too.
That
Oh wow.
That's a
When
cool spot that
when
doesn't
are
get
those
used a
ever
lot these
used in a
days.
promo
Yeah.
spot?
You know, with this match, they do you would kind of expect, I did at least when I like I said, I went back and watched these later in life as like a, 15-year-old, much 15 years after this had come out, but probably closer to 10 years. But you would expect like, oh, the first ladder match that like they'll do very little with the ladder, like there's gonna climb it and they might hit each other with it, but they do a lot of shit in this match.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
just like a singles match with a ladder. Like this is really like it holds up today. It's not as crazy, but like if you had two guys this size in a ladder match, they'd probably have a match very similar to this. You usually put your
Right.
high flying guys in the ladder
I mean,
matches now.
you have some cynical fans nowadays that go, "Where's the 450? Where's the fire table? Where's the fucking syphilis injection?
Love that
Fucking
shoulder tackle.
oh yeah, oh
Oh,
god."
right in the heartbreak, right in the
Oh,
heartbreaker.
I mean, there's so many people like that are so
Oh,
cynical about
wait.
ladder matches now. They
Okay.
don't like the match nowadays, but it's like if you
Now
just
was
like
okay. Now was his foot supposed to get caught, or is he actually really in pain?
his
yeah.
foot's
Does this
supposed to get
finish look? Does this look familiar to something earlier in the show?
yeah.
They
Well,
had to have brought that up.
well,
He is not in a good
Oh,
position. There you
let's
go.
well, no,
From just that
he's free.
ladder.
He's free now.
let's finish this story. Let's finish this match now, and I have a story.
Oh. Wait.
And
Is he? He
Yep,
was
that's it.
bam.
free.
That's it. That's the
He
match.
got free just in time. It was just too late.
Yeah.
But he was already free though. Like
He
what?
was jumping he was already at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, Razor's
He
right at
tried
the
to
top of the
dive for
ladder.
it.
So Okay, you mentioned this already happened at some other point in time in the match. So apparently, or in the card rather. So this apparently a match got cut because this match went too long, which is wrong. I will concede that because I know people who watch my All In podcast and heard the story of Cody complaining about some guy with an umbrella and Okada going too long, and Cody was ready to just tell the referee to call for a time limit draw and saying that, Cody haters out there would be saying, "Oh, the fucking piece of shit, overrated prick," would be saying, would try and call a match on the best wrestler of all time. So
Here's
this
a
was,
final iconic shot for
yep.
this match.
You know how many, like, even Scott Hall tell you know how many pictures of that he signed in his
Oh
life.
yeah, I bet.
So it is wrong to go over your time and screw everybody else. So Randy Savage went up to both Hall and Shawn after the match and went, "First of all, the first thing I want to tell you is great match. Second thing I want to tell you is you all are incredibly selfish because this is the match that got cut.
Yeah,
A match
I
like,
just listened to Jarrett talk about this on his new
Oh my God,
yeah,
is
podcast.
that Double J?
that's Jeff Jarrett.
That's some moments.
Oh, you want to talk about, like, so like apparently there's gonna be
Hey,
like
that happened.
a 10-man tag that did not happen because they all. But yeah, so Randy Savage chewed both guys a new asshole after that match, but you
for
know
for going over.
for going over. So it's wrong to go
Yeah,
over, but it is just kind of one of those. Well, shucks. I mean, again, you can say I'm good, bad, or indifferent because I was on Cody's side in the All In watch along that I did, where he had every right to be mad at Okada and some other dude for going too long at All In and wanting to call it a time limit draw because he was already cutting way too long into the 6-man tag at the end of the show. But here I am praising the Intercontinental title ladder match.
there's contextual differences though. That tag match that got cut was a nothing match. The tag match that got cut at All In was the main event.
Right.
That's the difference. One of the coolest looking WrestleManias, but one of the worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did like how on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 they included this as like at least the
Me
arena.
too.
I love
Yes,
that.
me
All
too.
right, Yokozuna won. Oh, but wasn't there supposed to be something that happened after that match?
Yeah, you notice they're not talking about that because he's not in
They're
the
not
Well,
company.
talking
that
about
one's
a
better
certain.
left not talked about ever.
They didn't talk about a certain real American that didn't save the day. Okay,
I'm
what the
not.
hell are we watching now?
I'm not a Hulk Hogan fan, and I'm not the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world, at least in terms of like him as a person. But you know, Bret Hart has every right to be bitter
What
about
are we
Hulk
watching
Hogan.
here? Is this a video montage?
It's a video montage about Bret.
It took me a long time to like Bret Hart. I hated Bret Hart when I first started
I,
watching
I I
wrestling.
I will say I will never not be excited to watch a Bret Hart match. And I
Yeah.
understand that Bret Hart has, and I give Easy's Canadian, and we have a faux rivalry about Bret and Shawn because it's
Again, you're
fun.
you're okay if you want to like talk trash about him.
But it's like here's like my real talk on Bret Hart, and this is with the Canadian in the chat. I think Bret Hart is a tremendous fucking wrestler. You will never. Hey, you want to go back and watch some old Bret Hart? Fucking sign me the fuck up. I am excited. But the problem with Bret Hart is there's just a part of Bret Hart that still buys his own bullshit. And that may be harsh, but it's like there's so many things about Bret Hart where it's like, dude, if you just calm the fuck down and understand that you're playing make believe, this is wrestling. This is a work. This isn't real. You, you,
Yeah. He
you would
definitely takes himself very seriously.
and they for probably very definitive reason showed him tapping out Ric Flair, who was in WCW at this
Hmm.
time. Um, so that's just kind of my thing. It's like even today, like him and Shawn are like good, but like you bring up the screw job and he's still like, yeah, fucking piece of shit did this, and it's like, you've both went through both Sean and Brett have gone through legit trauma in their life, and Brett still has to hold on to that negativity.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
definitely, and aside from him as a person, like I don't know why as a kid I hated him so much. I honestly think it's because he wore pink, and I was a 5-year-old little boy, and I was like, that's for girls. Like, why is he wearing pink?
right?
But and not having seen this era of Bret Hart just coming in like '97,
Okay, how long
but
is this video montage,
I'm
by the
gonna
way? It's
say
like
there's significantly more drama to other montages like this. Well, but to be fair, like at this time, all they had was this. All they had was stuff from matches. You didn't have the 12,000 editors to make it really cool.
yeah.
They definitely made sure to show him crushing Hulk Hogan, though. I'm
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is an interesting hype package.
I don't know how much time
this
is
is
left in this
weird.
in this pay per view, but notice how this I don't know how much longer this is than
21 minutes.
but this is felt the previous portion of this pay per view felt significantly longer.
Yeah.
It felt like it was going longer than probably what it was. Hey, Burt Reynolds, how are you?
Jenny Garth.
Burt Reynolds is seriously guest commentating this.
He's guest ring announcing.
Oh, guest ring announcer. Okay then.
When did they
So
stop doing the
yeah,
guest ring announcer and guest ring and timekeeper?
I want to.
What's the last guest timekeeper you remember?
I remember them doing it at WrestleMania 11, and don't remember it any time after that. But don't quote me on that.
It's such a weird role. Like it just almost seems like insulting. It's like you want to come ring a bell 3 times. Like I know it's an easy payday for a celebrity, but I just don't see what anyone really gets out of that. But
It's a
Vince has
way.
always been
It's an
obsessed
easy
with
payday, and it's an
celebrities.
easy way, to just get them on the show and be like, "Hey, they were here." Is that it? Okay, real talk. Is that any worse than, "Hey, you want to ring the bell, or do you want us to just show you in the crowd?"
Yeah, like they did with Logan Paul this year
I wasn't even
for
saying
The
that.
Logan.
less said
I
about
wasn't
him, the
saying Logan
better.
Paul. I was saying
He
literally.
did take a stunner, I guess.
I was saying literally um, every sports team ever. Hey, are we gonna have the Phoenix Suns do this, or are we just gonna show three of them in the front row and go, look, the entire Phoenix Suns
yeah,
are here?
yeah,
Doesn't a
yeah. I
basketball team
guess.
have 20 people? No, there they
Hey,
Oh
are.
Hot
man.
Rod. How come he doesn't have a match?
R.I.P. Hot Rod.
Mm,
Rot
Because he's the
Hod.
special referee for this match, and because he's older, and because he would go into a feud with Jerry Lawler after this in the match they would
When
have in
did he
the
wrestle Gold Dust? What Mania was that?
12, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say that match slaps. I love that match.
Um, Real talk about the Piper Goldust match. Me and my friends were looking for something to do to kill time before WrestleMania in New York when we all went. And we're like, we literally won the WWE Network. We're like, we have time for a few matches. What do you want to watch? Hey, let's watch this match from. Let's watch this one.
I
Was it?
love Roddy Piper so much,
Oh, I
dude. His
fuck.
promos. He's one of them. He might be my favorite promo ever. Like
I
no
love Roddy
lie.
Piper. Roddy Piper is the wrestler that I regret not being able to meet while they were alive the most.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's
He has.
self,
They just announced
as
a
self.
figure for him. I want so bad. He's like a John Nada figure from They Live.
Oh, sweet.
WWE's doing like a movie line. They have like Andre from the $6 Million Man and like Cena from Fast and Furious and Scorpion King Rock.
I would do that. I would buy that figure, but it's this is selfish because obviously, so many more people were affected by Roddy's passing than me. But when I heard he died, the first thing that went to my head was, "Damn, I'm not going to get to meet Piper."
Hmm. Yeah, because that was after you'd started like meeting a lot of wrestlers and stuff.
Right, like start being able
Because
like
like Savage died before you were really like in doing a lot of that.
before I was going like had a real means of going to conventions and going, hey, you know what I mean? Being able to
Roddy
being
Piper has 100% my favorite non wrestling appearance stuff too, because he's hilarious in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's in They Live and Hell Comes to Frogtown. They Live might be my favorite movie of all time, and Hell Comes to Frogtown is an amazing B movie. He's I don't know. He's definitely one of my, and I liked him in WCW. I know a lot of people probably didn't, but
So this is our main event for the evening. Easy, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry,
Oh, you're good. I'm just
he
making sure you're
just
still with
dumps
us.
those flowers out of the ring.
I'm still awake.
Well, I want to point this out. The challenger's coming out second.
Yeah, that's I don't like that ever, but
Was Bret Hart have different music coming out, or
He this was his music before he got it changed to the more iconic with
okay?
the guitar in the beginning. So this is just his music beforehand.
he's selling that limp to the ring there.
Again, I cannot nor will I ever take anything away from Bret Hart in the ring. Ever. Still
Even as a
say
wrestler, as a total package wrestler, I think he has a lot of like in ring physical charisma too. He might not. He's not a bad talker. He's not one of the greats, but like it wasn't his strongest suit. But he really doesn't have many weaknesses as a wrestler. Period. I know people think that he's boring or uncharismatic, but I think like you're drawn to him in the ring still. He's not The Rock, but nobody is.
the classic comparison is always Bret and Shawn. Um, Shawn is kind of, if I may, Shawn is kind of Daniel Bryan in the WWE, and Bret is Bryan Danielson in ROH.
Yeah, I agree with that. So do you remember? What do you remember about this match, Geek, from
I
like your
well,
childhood? Do you remember much about this
well,
one?
I'm trying not to spoil too much because I know some people don't know how this match ends. But
Hi.
I, um, I remember the finish. I remember just the finish of the match. I
Yeah.
remember, if you can believe it, passionately pulling for Bret Hart. Earlier, like, sure, we kind of went away from it a little bit, but last match we saw Shawn Michaels do a lot of cool stuff with the ladder, and that's what made me a Shawn Michaels fan, was getting to like all that cool shit. Like, here's a guy jumping off of a ladder. Here's a guy riding a ladder down on top of somebody. And I thought that was cool, and I was just like mad that the cool guy doing all the cool stuff didn't win the
Yokozuna
match.
just biting Brett. Really,
Yep. Um.
unlike him.
So Yokozuna's out here, and it's been a long time, so forgive me. I want to say that I was rooting for Brett just because, like, I kind of felt bad. I'm like, this is no fair. That this is the big guy, and I want to see the smaller guy win, and
hmm
things of that nature. So,
Well, Michaels didn't really work that ladder match like a heel.
no, he didn't. Um,
That there was so like you going into it cold as a little kid, just seeing those two, like I probably would have wanted Sean more too.
at this
Not
point,
because Razor's bad, but because Sean's like another level.
I've gotten more, and since the pandemic, I've rediscovered why I really enjoyed racing and motorsports. So I'll give a racing analogy because in 1994 I was all about that life. That was my childhood was NASCAR. Um, Shawn Michaels losing was the equivalent of Ricky Rudd crashing the car. So I guess I could be happy with Mark Martin or Bill Elliott winning if Ricky Rudd was out of the race. For any NASCAR fans that watch this, Bret Hart is in the Mark Martin role in this in this match. Or in 1994, and I might get lynch mobbed because, especially, we all love and respect him now. If Dale Earnhardt doesn't win, it's okay. We all love Dale
Oh,
now, but
Yeah,
when he was.
try saying that as a full sentence down in Daytona.
Oh, don't say Nick. I mean, you don't say it now because we all love now, but like in 94, 95, 96, that was a perfectly acceptable sentence to say. Until Gordon took over as the top heel of NASCAR, it's like, you are
Hey,
perfect. He was he not?
I get your analogy. It was like, hey, I grew up on Gordon because I love
You
the
did,
Rainbow
but like
me
Color.
too.
Gordon was like the one in all the traditional,
Hmm.
and Gordon, we just didn't like him because he won. Like it wasn't because he was a bad.
Interesting that
He was the
when I first
Patriots.
got into NASCAR, the
Yeah,
drivers that I actually didn't like cheering for was Dale Jarrett or Tony Stewart.
I like Dale
Everybody else
Jarrett.
was okay.
I like Dale Jarrett. Tony Stewart was a dick. But like, here's my thing with NASCAR. It's like I hate Dale Earnhardt
Oh,
until
knock him out, Roddy. There you
yes,
go.
Oh,
I hate Dale Earnhardt until Jeff Gordon came along, and then I'm like, Dale Earnhardt's not so bad. He's gonna beat Jeff Gordon, and then I kind of got out of racing. But then like I found out like what a dick Tony Stewart was, and then Tony Stewart was like, well. I want to see Tony Stewart win, so Jeff Gordon can win. He's cool. He was funny on Saturday Night Live.
oh, and also as a little kid, up until I actually met him, I could not stand Robbie Gordon.
The thing with Jeff Gordon, we're going off on an awful tangent here.
What the hell is
We,
Yoko doing?
he
He
just
looked like he missed the headbutt.
I know
he
it's like he
that
literally.
is doing a Von Erich claw. It looks like
Okay, because I was gonna say like that is the worst way to get somebody up. Is as if Randy Orton, he's literally trying to get them to come up for the RKO. He literally just falls on the mat multiple times.
but Gordon. We never hated Gordon because he was a dirty driver. We just hated him because he beat the old guys we liked.
Mm,
He took a championship from
mm,
Mark Martin. He took a championship from Sterling Marlin. He took a championship from Ricky Rudd. All these like old, like I want to say hard like heroes, but like the old guard, like these guys that have been around for a long time. Like, oh, they're finally gonna get their championship. Nope, there's Jeff Gordon. They're sure not gonna get it this year. Like
mm.
that's why we didn't like Jeff Gordon.
1995 was a great time, wasn't it?
I'm talking about like 2001's when he beat
I know.
Marlin and
Oh,
Rudd. We're all,
2001. That is when my biggest memory about NASCAR was in 2001.
I mean, Dale Jr. died, but like, so all the old school fans like Sterling Marlin, Ricky Rudd, the old school
Yeah.
guys
Here's
getting it for Dale.
now
Nope.
as a little
Okay.
kid, and again, I hate we're going off track about this. Like as a little kid, like I didn't, I guess, fully understand, Dale Earnhardt's death. I just saw like pictures everywhere about like his crash, and again, like, oh, he
Yeah.
died. I was like, okay, well, again, how do you explain death to a 6-year-old? So,
See, that was me when I first got into it because like I had to like be explained like Neil Bonnet died in a car wreck before
mm,
Daytona.
oh,
Uh,
Neil.
uh, Davey Allison died. Like that was my first experience with death.
Mm,
Like when Dale died, like I understood the concept of death, and I'm like, oh shit.
mm,
But back to this match,
mm.
like
Anyways,
you can
it's
see
kind of like all over the place,
it's
really.
all over the
It's
place. But
probably
I'm gonna say this, like Brett. No, I will say this again, kind of going back to why Brett's great. Brett Brett knows Yoko can't work his style of match, so Brett's gonna work a Yoko style of match.
yeah. This is so different from the opening match he was in,
Hmm.
but this isn't bad either.
It's not bad. It's just not compared to what we just saw with Brett and Owen earlier in the night.
Yeah, but I mean, it just shows his versatility, like you
Oh,
said. Like
absolutely.
he can put on a good match with Owen and that kind of style, and he can put on a good match with Yoko in that style.
You can tell right now Yoko's
Uh-oh.
gassed as fuck right now.
Yeah, why didn't Yokozuna
I,
wrestle the first match? Why did they
actually,
like?
my
Wouldn't you
question
want to
is,
give him
why the
most
hell
amount of
did they
time to
have these
recover?
two wrestling 2 matches?
I think with the story of the match that we'll eventually see, you're gonna want to make it seem like Brett had more recovery time.
You see, that was like intentional to. It just seems like you'd want the babyface to have the least amount of recovery time.
True. I guess that's still.
Oh, that
I
footage looks familiar.
I guess you want to protect Yoko still at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wait, how did Yokozuna won the WWF Championship in the first place? Who did he beat it from?
Well, okay, so last year at WrestleMania 9, he beat Brett for the title, and then
Hmm.
Hulk Hogan came out and to check on
Apparently, he who shall not be named in the 90s.
to check on Bret Hart, despite them having no kayfabe history. And Mr. Fuji said, "Hulk Hogan, you challenge my Yokozuna," and Hulk Hogan beat Yokozuna in 30
Was that like
seconds.
a minute?
Yeah, something like that. So,
Wasn't also Brett pissed off about that also?
okay, so Bret was mad, but Hulk, apparently, according to Bret, Hulk went to Bret and said, "I owe you one." And allegedly, they were building to a Bret Hogan clash at SummerSlam with a big passing of the torch. Um, New generation, old generation. Bret's the man now. Bret beats Hogan. And that didn't work for Hogan Brothers, so he
Oh,
decided he'd rather just lose to Yokozuna at King of the Ring, and that's it. Uh, Yokozuna beat Hogan
interesting.
at King of the Ring with some shenanigans. We might go back and check that out. We might not, but there's shenanigans. Um, and Yokozuna's the champion, and he's been the monster ever
Mm,
since. Subsequently, leading to the Luger stuff that we talked about earlier, and now
okay.
the dual winner in
Oh,
'94, and where we're at
oh
presently.
boy, wait. Yoko's about to splash. Oh boy. Whoa, what the hell?
He fell.
He didn't look like he lost balance. Wait, whoa, what?
That's the finish.
What?
That is the finish.
That's how Brett
Yokozuna,
won?
Brett
What?
won.
What?
Yokozuna tripped and fell. That is the finish they're going with.
I mean, yay for Canada, but what? The
Yokozuna. Nick, what do you think about this finish?
Couldn't have booked it better myself.
I'm sorry, but I'm literally going to quote Krusty the Clown on this. What the hell was that? I'm actually serious. Like, what the hell was that?
I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta protect Yoko somewhat, but like, I mean,
But,
I can
yes,
understand.
but
I can understand not having Yoko tap out to the sharpshooter.
I would. That's what I would have wanted.
You gotta protect Yoko to a point. Like, you can't just have him. You still gotta.
It's like trying to protect Andre by saying we don't want anybody to body slam the giant, except for this guy, who now just pissed off to that other company.
Well,
Well,
this is what you do to a monster, though. Like, this is why people got mad whenever The Fiend lost to Goldberg. Like, you like, if he's gonna lose, like, it can't, even if he's the heel, like, you
Also,
can't
like,
just pin
what
him one, two, three. He's a
protect
monster.
Yokozuna from what?
Like
he's
I just
got.
said, he's a monster.
He's supposed
You
to still
can't,
be
you
a
can't beat a
threat later
monster like
on.
that.
Like, if you beat him up, if it like, I know you're gonna disagree, but like, if you had Brett like tap him out to the sharpshooter, like Nick was saying, you gotta. I would have came up with something a little bit more creative than that, but like that would have been the
Uh-oh.
equivalent. That
We
would have
got a
been the.
visitor.
You can
Uh-oh.
beat Ted DiBiase or Roddy Piper clean as the
Yeah,
babyface
by the
against the
way,
heel.
Ted was shown. What the hell wasn't he at a match?
He's retired at this point. He was a manager.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like you can
Aw,
beat that
wasn't
kind of
on
heel
Lux.
clean, but you can't really
All
beat. I
right.
mean, I know Hogan did
Lux.
Andre, but that was kind of like
Whoa, who's coming
a
out?
specialty
Oh, we got
thing. The
Lux.
whole
Oh,
point of
more.
that was
The
he
entire
It's
never
roster's
lost.
coming out.
it's the baby faces coming out. But here like I want to point this out. This is like to me like this is just like mwah, superb storytelling that they do during all of this. Like there's all the baby faces coming
One, two,
out.
three, kid. Okay, so I see 1, 2, 3. Razor. Who's the blue trunks guy? Oh, that's Davy
Tatanka.
Boy. Oh,
No, it's
what?
Tatanka.
Oh, that's Tatanka. Oh, okay. Then what's neon guy?
That's Bob Sparky Plug Holly.
Who and what?
Macho Man.
Better known as Hardcore
Macho
Holly.
Man.
But like you can't
Macho
you
and
you
Brett
get
ever have a match together? Or...
there's the celebrities coming back out.
Oh man.
It's not WrestleMania without a
Like I
bunch of
said,
celebrities.
like
Monsoon, there's Gorilla Monsoon.
hey, look at me, he's not commentating. What the hell?
He's commentating Radio WWF, which is something they used to do where they would broadcast the matches radio. There's Pat Patterson.
Sure. Yeah.
But here's like
Now, if
there's a part
I'm
coming
just saying
up.
this, like if social media existed back then, I think a lot of people would be wondering what literally what the hell was that kind of finish? Like, OMG, Brett won in a very weird way.
Well, they had shitty finishers
Okay,
all over the
stop.
place.
This is great. This is
Uh
fucking
oh.
great.
Oh. Ooh. Oh,
He
hello,
says,
Owen.
"What about me?"
What about
He
me?
thinks he thinks he's come out of the shadow, but at the end of the night, Brett's still the man. Brett won the title.
Yeah. I
That
like
is
how like even
that
Macho,
is
he's like opening
booking.
the ropes for him. It's like, come
Yep,
on, come join us. It's like,
yeah.
I don't think
That is
so.
booking perfection because Owen won. Owen beat Brett, but at the end of the night, Brett still's the man. Brett won the title. Brett's the
Mm.
world's champion. And all
I think
Owen
he's
has
still
and
selling the
all
knee
Owen has to
injury.
say is, "What about me?" Like Owen still got the chip on his shoulder. That is like that is a precursor to how AEW would tell stories right there. And New Japan. Like that is great shit right
All
there.
right. Oh, okay. No. I don't want to watch WrestleMania 11. Don't want to watch WrestleMania 11. Okay, now we're good.
That
We're
is
good.
the proverbial good shit, pal. That
All
was
right.
for all the bullocks that the new generation had to offer. That is booking
But I like
perfection
the
right there.
feel good. I like the feel good moment that it had in the end, but it's like again the finish was just weird.
It's weird. Like there's no real easy way to book the tumbling of a monster. The only
There is
other,
an easy
No.
way. I'm on the show.
but
No,
like,
the only other way, like, you either have that or you have Hogan Cena syndrome, where you just feed them monsters of the week and they don't matter. If you want to use them later, you can't just beat them like that.
yeah, it's kind of it's why it's hard to book a monster because it's such a two-way street. It's like, okay, so you want a better finish. Well, now the monster's dead and you can't use
That's
him
why you
anymore.
don't normally put your belt on a monster.
Exactly. It goes back to like, as
That's
much as we were mad about the Fiend getting squashed by Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, it's like, well, if the Fiend or if Yoko would have been tapped out to the sharpshooter to Bret Hart, it's like that's the same thing, you
it is,
know.
yeah.
So it's kind of like the only thing that I could have if Bret had like an impact finisher in addition to the sharpshooter, to where like after the fall off the ropes, he could have hit that real quick and then pin Yoko. It wouldn't have been so bad. But you know, it's I
And but
agree.
you also don't want to do a Stone Cold and have him pass out in the sharpshooter or anything. Your hands are kind of tied.
Actually, yeah. Instead of Yoko tapping, like he actually could have passed out.
Yeah, but that's a babyface move.
It's kind of it's again. It's why you don't put the belt on the monster. It's why the monster is the monster. Not the champion.
Anytime they've done, other than like Andre, like I said, they put the belt on Andre to create Hulkamania, the what it had to be. Like, if you think of every big monster wrestler that has won a belt, like they are diminished once they lose it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I don't know. It's so okay. Real quick, because we've been going on long enough. We've watched this pay per view. I want to get as we're doing this project and we hear, we're going to go through three different eras of wrestling with this project. What were your thoughts on the pay per view as a whole, including what we watched in the previous part? We'll start with EZ and then we'll get to Nick and then we'll get to mine.
Okay, so I guess like overall, like it's far. I don't know. It's nowhere close to being my top 10 of WrestleManias, but like it was not bad show. Like if this was my first introduction to wrestling, I'd say okay, this looks pretty cool. I would love to see more of this. Um, but again, like it's not bad, and WrestleMania is still like young at this point. Just turning 10. Um, it definitely still had a lot of potential to grow, despite notable people leaving for the other company at the time. So, um, honestly, like there were some matches that I could really care less about. The opening match between Brett and Owen, that's still my match. Actually, no, I'm wrong. Match of the night is definitely Razor and Sean. I just think they could have used more ladders, but that's just me. But
Use more
the Brett and
ladders,
Owen
but
match was.
again, like I mean, that's your opinion. But do you also
Mhm.
taking into consideration the fact that this was literally the first ladder match on like a live pay per view, where that's like not a
I
consideration?
I still I still would have opened up the creativity and say like you like Sean Razor, go have fun out there. Like leave us an entertaining match that could really look like we're going to dominate the decade. So but again, like it definitely had like some memorable moments and just again that over replay of Sean jumping from the top of the ladder. So
The thing that got made me a
but like I
wrestling
said,
fan.
overall, not a bad pay-per-view. Like it wasn't like good as I hoped it would be, but it wasn't bad. It was like straight down the middle. Personally, like my rating, I would give it a 6.5 because again, there were some matches that I really could care less about. So the only ones that really stood out, it really was just Brett Owen and Razor HBK. So, but at least thankfully it is not terrible like WrestleMania 32 levels of horribleness. So, like I said, that's my point of view.
Okay, fair. Don't agree with all of it, but I'll call it fair. Nick, what do you
There's
think?
a lot of things that you don't agree with me about, and there's things I don't agree
Oh
about with
no,
you. So
no, that's fine.
we're okay with it.
That's good. That's discussion. That's great. That's why we do this. Nick, you're next.
So yeah, like I said, this was before my time. I didn't watch this until I had watched several WrestleManias like live under my belt as a kid. Went back to watch these in middle school. Like I said, like I watch them chronologically, and I've gone back to watch a lot more of that in some downtime. And the first like WrestleMania to what it is today is not at all what it was at the start. Like there was a lot of like house show matches on the first WrestleMania,
Right.
and like the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. Like it wasn't like every match of WrestleMania was this huge build and there had to be a storyline behind it. Like we expect that now, and that's really because of the Attitude Era. Like in the 80s and like the territory era, you just put on matches because they were wrestlers and wrestlers wrestle matches. Like not everything was a storyline. So there was more of that in here. You had some big storyline matches that also Brett Owen up to this point chronologically, in my opinion, is the best match that they've had at WrestleMania. Like period from anybody.
Right.
So you have two great matches on this card, an interesting through line of the story, though the matches aren't so good involving Yoko. It's interesting to have that. The opener, the middle, and the main event are basically one continuous story. I like that booking idea. The rest of them were kind of that early WrestleMania era, especially I think of like the women's championship match is just like a throwaway match. The same with like Dink and Doink and Luna and Bigelow. Like they're just there to have matches, and you can't get away with that in the 2000s WrestleMania era.
Right.
You would shit all over that just putting a match on because it's a match. But so this is definitely like a transitionary period in WrestleMania history. And like you said, we're transitioning from Hulkamania to New Generation, transitioning from what a WrestleMania means and all that kind of stuff. But um, it's probably between this and 8 for the strongest of the first like 10 WrestleManias to me. Um, Owen versus Brett is the best match. Michaels and Razor might be the second best in WrestleMania at that point, but there's a couple other. I take that back. It's probably not true, but it's up there. So yeah, overall I liked it. I don't really know what I would do number wise, but enjoyable pay per view. I liked it when I went back to watch it originally. I like it now. Um, I don't know if I'd have to really look at the list. I don't know if it'd be in my top 10 WrestleManias ever, but it
Right.
might be. I could see it cracking the top 10 just off the strength of those two matches alone.
Right.
You
So
know, I five ranks very highly for me just because of Hogan versus Savage. You know what I mean? So like sometimes a one match card can elevate the whole show, and this is a two match card, and both those matches are fantastic. So I don't know, it might be in my top 10.
so for
I definitely
me,
see why you'd become a wrestling fan after watching it.
right, I was just gonna say, like, so watching this again with everything I know now, or everything that I feel now, um, there was a lot of just why is that there sort of thing. Um, Putting myself in the shoes of someone in 1994, I can still see why, as much as we'd say this is boring, I understand Yoko, and I understand why Yoko work a small, like, there's not an internet. There's not a, like, wrestling hasn't been, it's been exposed, but not exposed on the level that we know it as today. So a viewer may truly be intimidated by Yokozuna. Um, you can say I'm still being a cynical HBK mark, but I still go Sean Razor as the match of the night, just as a hair above Brett and Owen. Um, I think Brett did a great job throughout this whole show. I feel like the title is being booked exceptionally well at this time in the title scene, which is something that we would love to hear in this day and age with the WWE. Um, but I feel like, going back and watching that ladder match again, we've been so, as a fan base, so preconditioned to expect holy shit ridiculousness from a ladder match. You forget that, you know, how much just a guy slamming a fucking ladder up against your face can work. And I'm not knocking the match, but like you look at a ladder match like we had it all out 2 years ago with the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks, and they're doing Canadian destroyers off the top of the ladders, and I enjoyed the match. I'm not knocking that. Don't get me wrong, but you know, you're seeing stuff like that, and you're preconditioned to think like, well, where's that at? You forget how the simple stuff can still be impactful, and I feel the ladder match still holds up today. I mean, to a point, you know. Um, Still my match of the night. Still, definitely look at it and go, "Wow, that's why I still understand the feeling I had at the time." Um, if I'd really paid attention to the rest of the card, would I've still kept that feeling? I don't know, but yeah, I think it was a good show overall. I think it was good overall, great for the time, and WrestleMania would evolve, but I agree with what Nick said. I think like it's this and this WrestleMania 8 and WrestleMania 9, or not WrestleMania 9, excuse me, 5 for top 3 WrestleManias up to this point. So maybe I'm a little biased, maybe I'm a mark, but it is what it is. And that is also it for this edition of the Geeking Out Podcast. We want to thank you all for watching along with us. If you enjoyed this watch along and this podcast, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of pro wrestling, but from the world of gaming, anime, comic books, and all things geek culture. Follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek89, Twitter athletic_geek89, Instagram athleticgeek89, And if you'd like to help this channel out financially, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/athleticgeek89. Easy. I know you have social media if you want to plug that real quick, if you please.
Yeah, guys. So follow me on Twitter at Eric Zarins. Shout out to the Podcast Wrestling Federation for being awesome people. If they're watching this video, again, you guys are awesome. If you want to keep in touch with the latest and greatest wrestling rumors, support the wrestling podcast because they are awesome. It's, we are also the heart and soul of everything that goes on from AEW to the creative distraction known as WWE. And of course, if you have other interests like auto racing as well, just give me a shout. We'll talk your ear off about sports. And coming November 6th, if you are in the St. Louis area, I'm going to
Well,
be
don't date this
appearing
too
at Full
much.
Gear.
Don't date it too much. Don't date
Hmm?
this too much. This is a podcast. Don't date us too terribly much. But yes.
No problem. Okay, whatever. But
Nick,
I forgot to say this isn't live. Just follow me on Twitter.
follow him
We'll
on Twitter.
talk.
Yeah, we're
We'll
not we're
talk
not we're not
stuff.
live, but you might see more content in the future with us together because of the St. Louis area. In the near
Hmm.
future, Nick, have you relaunched your Twitter?
Don't look for me. I don't
Okay.
want to be bothered.
All right. Well, thank you very much for checking out this podcast. We'll see you next week uh, on the Geeking Out podcast. Have a good one.